What if the loudest anti-elite movements online were never outside the system at all, but just another resource being mined by the same people they thought they were exposing? We're watching that possibility snap into focus, because the same documents archive that reveals Jeffrey Epstein's connections to billionaires, politicians, and financiers also shows him intersecting with the infrastructure of the exact counterculture that says it's fighting predatory elites and globalist psyops. He met with the founder of 4chan, the online message board that spawned Pizzagate and QAnon, right at the time the very home board of those conspiracies was launched. He's in consistent contact with Steve Bannon, one of the main architects of a global right-wing populist project, working with him to network potential funders, figures, and political strategies. At the same time, those movements' rank and file see themselves as uniquely authentic. They believe they're the only ones who've pierced the illusion, who really see the trafficking, the corruption, and the psyops. They think they've escaped the system's narrative. But what if that sense of authenticity isn't outside the system? What if it's the core commodity of late-stage capitalism, carefully harvested, packaged, and sold back to us? This angle of the Epstein story is a revealing lens about how authenticity itself has become something to extract, and why that means there may not be any clean outside left, because the most valuable resource in a saturated culture is whatever still feels real.
The only true currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with someone else when you're uncool.
If you've ever watched a tiny subculture pop up on your feed and then seen it in a Nike ad a month later, you've already witnessed this. The life cycle is almost predictable now. A style, a meme, a discourse starts in a small, semi-obscure pocket of the internet, and it feels local, intimate, and self-defined. It carries all the little signals, language, references, aesthetics that mark it as ours instead of theirs. And then the platforms do what they're built to do. They surface it. They algorithmically amplify it, they cluster it and bucket it and turn it into metrics, watch time, engagement rates, demographic slices. And suddenly this weird little thing is viral. And once it's a viral trend, it's legible, not just to recommendation systems, but to marketers and PR teams and even political campaigns. Subculture barely has time to solidify before it's being sold back to its own members as an aesthetic, a product, or talking points. And everyone is invited to be real as long as that realness feeds the same circuits of visibility and extraction. Subcultures are now born under algorithmic surveillance and instantly transformed into inventory, something to be measured, branded, and resold. The Epstein documents reveal how this is even true for spaces that look like the opposite of marketable culture, namely anonymous message boards full of slurs, offensive memes, and paranoid research, haunted by people who feel left behind by globalization, betrayed by institutions, and alienated from mainstream media. The whole thing feels deliberately ugly, deliberately outside. But structurally, it's doing the same thing every authentic scene does, producing a strong sense of insider status. The more outrageous or taboo the content, the more it feels like a special access pass to a reality behind the simulation. QAnon, for example, positioned itself explicitly as the only movement brave enough to expose a hidden network of predatory elites. Its followers spent hours doing research and parsing drops and building elaborate connective diagrams. That same effort becomes a kind of proof, because if you work this hard to see it, it must be true. From the inside, this feels like spontaneous bottom-up resistance. But with this latest document drop, it's clear that the terminally online outsider ecosystem was not invisible to elite eyes. It was very much on their radar and of interest.